Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and thanks for coming by the channel to join me for today's episode. And guys, today we're going to be talking about one of my old, well not one of my, probably my number one old sentimental favorite lure that still catches big fish today, and that's the old school Rebel Spoonbill Minnow here. Guys, this is an incredible big bass lure. I'm going to talk about my experiences with it and how far it goes back. And more importantly, the conditions today that you can catch a lot of fish on it, because it still works really good today, even in the era of the modern jerkbait. So we're going to get into that today. Also, guys, thank you very much for everybody that's been supporting the channel by subscribing here to Advanced Bass Fishing, checking out the memberships in our Patreon channel or our Patreon program there. Really appreciate that. And real quick reminder, guys, that Tackle Warehouse has got that big 12 days of Christmas sale going on right now. So not a better time to get stocked up on some baits or rain gear, or depth finders, or trolling motors, whatever you need at Tackle Warehouse. I'll have my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video if you guys would like to use and bookmark my link. Good way to help advance. It's a really good way to help advance bass fishing here, and I really appreciate that. So I sound all hacking and scratching, guys. I'm in the middle of a bad cold right now. My eyes are watering, and it sound like crap, so that's probably what's going on if you think something's a little different here. Okay, guys, here it is, man. I love doing this video because this is really one of my favorite all-time baits. This is the old Rebel Spoonbill Minnow. Guys, I cannot tell you how many 8-pound class fish that I've caught and seen caught on this bait over the years. It's an incredible big bass catcher. And if you're never familiar with it, guys, if you've never seen it, Rebel makes this bait. I'm not even sure if they still make it. It was originally designed for a striper lure for trolling, but some of the Ozark experts back here in my part of the country figured out before anybody else did that this was a great, it's the first jerkbait ever. It's really the first modern day jerkbait that people started using back in the 70s with what is considered now the modern day jerkbait fishing technique. And that's when I started fishing it back in the late 1970s. It's a very cheaply made bait. Nothing special about it. It's got just an eye tie right here that's always crooked, and you always have to adjust it because it's always out of whack there. It's got cheap split rings. It's got cheap hooks that come with it. Paint jobs are cheap. The whole thing's a cheap bait, but it's a fish catching mother. And we talk about that a lot on the channel in terms of baits that don't cost very much versus some baits that are more expensive. And the price of a bait and how good a lure looks doesn't have anything to do with its fish catching qualities. The qualities that cause a fish to bite a lure are the lure profile, the water displacement, how it moves in the water, the profile of the bait, the action of the bait. There's a combination of things that make a bait really good. And that's why the Rebel has got all those combinations to it. So I'm going to give you a few tips and advice. First of all, you cannot get this at Tackle Warehouse or most tackle stores anymore. Look on eBay, or you might go to the Rebel website and get you a few there. But there's two primary colors. My two favorites are any type of a shad pattern and the gold side black back. I use the gold on a cloudy day. I use the shad pattern if it's sunny out. These are the only two colors I pretty much use. And the thing about a Rebel, guys, the thing floats up like a cork. It's very buoyant. So you have to put a pretty good deal of lead weight on the bottom of the bait there. This is just a piece of lead that I've epoxied here, and then I file it down to make it where the bait suspends perfect. With a Rebel, I don't want it floating or sinking. I want it sitting perfectly stable there. And then also, you can see here, I filed the lip with a file, a little bit of red faded out fingernail polish there, makes the bait get down a little deeper. But on like 8 or 10 pound line, when you have it weighted, on a long cast, it'll get down 8 to 10 foot in that range right there. Okay, a couple different things we're going to talk about when this works. First of all, the biggest bass I have ever had on in my life. I did a video on this last year. It was at Table Rock Lake in 1982 on this bait exact right here, gold side blackback Rebel. I was fishing it next to a cedar tree on a main lake bluff. And a buddy of mine had just put an 813 in the boat, basically a 9-pounder, just caught one. About 2 casts later, after we netted his 813, I had that one on the Rebel. And guys, it it looked like it was twice as big as that 813. It was the biggest bass I have ever seen in my life. It had to be 12 or 14 pounder. And I got the fish right up to the boat, clear water and table rock. You can see it perfectly. Fish opens his mouth. Mouth was like this. The bait just falls out of its mouth. And what had happened was the hooks got crossed on it. These back two hooks. So the bait came back like that. And when the fish hit it, the hooks were crossed, which happens a lot on this bait because you can see how close the hook eyes are there. And the original Rebel hooks had a long shank on it, made it even worse. And that fish hit it with those hooks crossed. But I think it was the Missouri State record. It was a giant. But thing about a Rebel, here's where it works. There's two different scenarios. And I've caught them on this up until the last 10 years really good. I did really good down in an FLW tournament down at Lake Gunnersville. And I also did good in a Bassmaster Top 150 at Lake Gunnersville on the Rebel. This was back in the early to mid 2000s. Two situations where you want to use it. If you're fishing a lake that has submergent grass, like Rayburn or even any southern lake that's got grass in it, doesn't really matter where it is. Milfoil like Lake Gunnersville, whatever. If you have a lake that's got hydrilla or milfoil that is almost died down to the bottom and it only grows up to a foot or so off the bottom, taking this Rebel and fishing it over the top of that grass bed is an excellent way to catch them. I've caught tons of big ones doing like that. And the way that you want to fish it is a little bit more unique. When you're fishing it over a grass bed, you want to pump it. So take the bait down there, reel it down like that, and then just go like this and reel down, go like that, reel down, like that, and reel down. You're not jerking it like that. You're just pumping it up and down over that grass bed. I actually learned this from Larry Nixon back in the 1980s. He did good at Sam Rayburn Lake on a Rebel, and I watched him in the tournament. I was fishing the same flat he was, and I started noticing Larry was out there. He was casting something out there, and he'd go like this, like that, and then he'd set the hook on one, he'd get one, and I got up. Our boats started getting closer to each other, and I saw he was throwing a Rebel, Spoonbill Rebel. So thank you, Larry, for that. I've caught tons of fish ever since I saw you do that. But the other times that I've caught them on it, this is my own technique here in Missouri, is if you have a typical man-made lake with rocky banks. What you want to do is you want to fish the Rebel during the pre-spawn time of the year, anytime that water temperature is between, say, 45 and 55 degrees, get on some bluff ends. Not the bluff banks, but the areas on a bluff that are almost to the point. So let's say, for example, you've got a long bluff, and every bluff has got to start with a point at some point or a rock transition. But let's say, for example, you got this nice bluffy bank, and then you can see up in front of you, you got the bluff comes to a point. Start fishing about 100 yards before you get to that point with this Rebel. And depending upon your water clarity, I like water clarity for the Rebel to be, 3.5 to 6 foot in clarity, something like that. 3 to 6 foot is perfect for it. Ideal, the perfect water clarity is probably 4 to 6 foot. But make a long cast with the Rebel out there, and then you reel it down like this. You don't fish it like this like you do with the grass. Cast it out there, reel it down like a crankbait, and you got to realize since you have it weighted, when you're reeling it down and you stop it, it doesn't go anywhere. But reel it down for 7 or 8 cranks, and then just pull it like that, and then take up the slack and pull it like that, and then just twitch it a little bit. So it actually looks like this. You're gonna throw it out there, you're reeling it down like that, you get it down 5 or 6 cranks, pull it probably about 3 foot with your rod tip, take up the slack, pull it about 3 foot again, take up the slack, and on the third time, just twitch it like that. Don't jerk it hard, but just twitch it like that as you're reeling a little bit, like that, and then keep pulling it. And that pull twitch technique, when that water temperature is 45 or 50, is what the bass want. Since this is a deep lip bait here, the lip on it's like a crankbait, but the bait is like a jerk bait, so it's sort of a hybrid jerk bait crankbait. So you can't jerk it like a jerk bait, and you can't just reel it in like a crankbait. You got to pull it, so it goes down like this. You're reeling it down, and then it gets down to deep. And you pull it, and it goes like that, and then you're just twitching it like that, and then you pull it, and it goes like that. And guys, those big ones love it. I've caught them on this thing on every Ozark lake in my part of the country. I've caught them in Florida on it. I've caught them all over the grass lakes down south, Toledo Bend, Rayburn, all that type of stuff. Again, TVA lakes. I've caught them at Chickamauga on it. I've caught them at Guntersville on it. I've caught them at Kentucky Lake on it. I did pretty good in a tournament one time at Lake Norman, North Carolina on it. It's just one of my secret baits that I still use under the right situation. So something else to add to your arsenal, guys. In today's era of high-tech jerk baits, there's still a place for the old school Spoonbill Rebel. Big bass lure for sure. So talk later.